Ordering real numbers lesson. We're going to look at some examples and go through how do we order real numbers. Well, we're going to start with a warm-up here. You can use a calculator, and I want you to write each of these as a decimal to the nearest hundredth. Pause the video here and come back. We'll see how you did. All right, so 3/5, I can put that in my calculator, 3 divided by 5, and get 0.6 or 6/10. Square root of 5, put that in my calculator, I get 2.24 or 2 and 24 hundredths. 2 pi, all right, well pi I know is 3.14, or if my calculator has a pi button, I could do 2 times and then use that pi button. I'm just going to round to the nearest hundredth. I don't need to go on too far on this. So to the nearest hundredth, yeah, if I just take 3.14 and doubled it, I get 6.28. Now I have 9 minus the square root of 10. Well, I'd have to find the square root of 10 and then take 9 and subtract it away. So take the square root of 10, write that number down, then do 9 minus that decimal. We should get 5.84. How about 2 times the square root of 3? So they're written right beside each other, so that's going to be multiplication. I could put that in my calculator as the square root of 3 equals, and then that number times 2 to get 3.46. And same thing on the one below it. Do the square root of 7, get your decimal, then multiply by 9, and we're going to get 23 and 81 hundredths for those. So that's going to help us get going on at least being able to change these to decimals, and then we can make some comparisons once we have decimals, because once I have decimals, I can kind of think of these as money. I think a 0.6 is 60 cents, 6.28, $6.23, $3.46, $23.81, $5.84, $2.24. And comparing money always makes things easier to relate to, so comparing those decimals just like comparing some good old money. So integers are the set of numbers that are positive numbers, negative, and 0. The real number line has points that represent fractions and decimals, called rational numbers, as well as integers. And the point that corresponds to a number is called the graph of the number. Drawing the point is called graphing or plotting the number. So the real number line. So the real number line does have all those fractions and decimals in between each of those numbers, what we call rational numbers. Positive numbers are always to the right of 0, and negative numbers are to the left of 0. The further to the left a number is, the smaller the number is. The further to the right a number is on the number line, the larger a number is. So, for example, let's say we have graph 1/2 and negative 2.3 on a number line. Well, 1/2 is going to go between 0 and 1. It's going to go halfway between 0 and 1. So we could put a little point there, and I labeled this 1/2. And then we have negative 2/3. Negative 2 and 3/10. Negative 2.3 is going to go between negative 2 and negative 3. And if I think about splitting it up in thirds, I want to be a little bit closer to the negative 2 part, and negative 2.3 would go there. So we can put fractions and decimals on a number line. Yes, it's not as precise, particularly if we're counting by ones on our number line, and we could change our units to be more specific. But for this case, we're fine just estimating where these numbers would go on a number line, and that kind of helps us make a comparison as to where they would fall on the number line. So once we have points plotted on the number line, then it's really easy to compare which is bigger, which is smaller. So there is more than one way to read a comparison. So for example, if we have graph -4 and -5 on a number line, then we want to write 2 inequalities that compare the numbers. So let's first put these points on a number line. We have -4 and we have -5. So we can write 2 different inequalities. We can talk about which one is larger than the other. Well, further to the right would be larger. And we can talk about which one is smaller. Further to the left, the smaller the number. So a couple different ways we could write our inequalities. We could first write -5 is less than -4. Or I could write -4 is greater than -5. Notice how in both cases they open towards the larger numbers. So even in this one, It opens towards the -4. This one opens towards the -4 as well. So we have two different inequalities we could write, and we know just by looking at it on the number line, the one to the right is bigger than the one to the left. So the further to the left of 0, the smaller the number is, and the further to right of 0, the larger the number is. All right, I want you guys to graph -4 and -1 on a number line. It doesn't have to be a huge number line. Draw a little number line, and then write two inequalities, and come back and unpause the video. All right, welcome back. So we should have 2 points on our number line. We should have one at -1, and one at -4. Then we need to write our two inequalities, one with greater than, one with less than. Well, by looking at the number line, I know -1 is bigger, and I know -4 is smaller, because -1 is to the right, -4 is to the left. So I could write down -4 is less than -1, and -1 is greater than -4. All right, change each of these to a decimal, then write two different inequalities that compare the numbers. So change them to decimals, and then use the original numbers to make your comparisons. Pause the video here, come on back, we'll see how you did. Well, the square root of 20 plus 1, I could put in my calculator the square root of 20, then add 1 to it, and get 5.47. And the square root of 2, add that to 3. I can take that 1.41 plus 3 and get 4.41. So now that they're in decimal form, I can tell which one is bigger. Well, $5.47 is more money than $4.41. So this number is larger. So when I'm writing my inequalities, it should be opening towards this number. The square root of 20 plus 1 is going to be bigger than 3 plus the square root of 2 because the decimal forms obviously show that this one is larger. So my two inequalities, the square root of 20 plus 1 is greater than 3 plus the square root of 2, and 3 plus the square root of 2 is less than the square root of 20 plus 1. All right, let's do the same thing on this one. Change each to a decimal and write two inequalities. Pause the video, come back and see how you did. All right, so we change these to decimals first. The square root of 18 would be 4.2426, and 13 over 3, I get this repeating decimal, 4.3333333, going on and on and on. So if I look at money, this is like $4.24. This is like $4.33. This one is bigger. So my 13/3 millimeter would be bigger than the square root of 18 millimeters. Then I can write my two inequalities opening towards 13/3. So the square root of 18 millimeters is less than 13/3 millimeters, and 13/3 millimeters is greater than the square root of 18 millimeters. All right, you guys change each of these to decimals and write them in increasing order. So increasing order means they're getting bigger from left to right. So pause the video here, come back and see how you did. All right, so 3 pi, we're going to change that to a decimal, 9.42. The square root of 10, 3.16. And 3.25 is already in decimal form. So writing them in increasing order, I need the smallest number first. Well, the smallest number would be 3.16, which is the square root of 10. Then working my way up, I'd have 3.25, which is the same in both forms. And then the largest number would be 3 pi. So my answer should look like that. All right, let's try another one of those, but instead of increasing, this time it's going to be in decreasing order. So you got to make sure you read the question carefully because you want to combine doing good math with answering the question being asked. Good math alone does not always get you the right answer. You have to combine those two things, good math with answering the right question. So change each to a decimal, pause the video here, put them in decreasing order. All right, so if we have these in decimal form, we have 10.5, 10.24, and 10.42. So in decreasing order means I'm starting with the largest one. Well, that's like $10.50, $10.24, $10.42. So the biggest one, 10.5. Then the 10.42 would be this 3 pi plus 1 would be the next one. And the smallest one, 10.24, would be like the square root of 105. All right, I hope that helps you guys putting those real numbers in order and comparing and writing those inequalities. Have a great day. OUT spells